Let me tell you something most people don't realize about attraction. It's not just about how you look or what kind of energy you give off. It's about what you say, and more importantly, how you say it. There's one simple phrase that changes the entire dynamic between you and a man, and it's this: I love a man who. Now that might sound simple, but trust me, it's one of the most powerful things you can say to a man. Because here's the truth. Most people are out here telling other people what to do. You should be more assertive. You need to communicate better. I wish you'd open up more. But what does that actually do? It puts people on the defensive. It feels like pressure, like a job description they didn't sign up for. But when you say, I love a man who, you're not instructing, you're inspiring. You're not demanding change, you're inviting him to become something more. You're showing him who he can be for you without telling him what he's doing wrong. Let's break this down. Imagine you're on a date and the guy opens your car door. You could say that was nice, but if instead you say, I love a man who does that, it's such a rare quality these days. You've just created a moment. Now he's thinking, wait, that meant something to her. She sees me differently. She values something about me that others don't. You've taken a small gesture and turned it into something magnetic. Or maybe he's talking about something he's passionate about, his business, a goal, a challenge he overcame. You could say, that's cool, but you won't stand out. If instead you say, I love a man who's ambitious like that. There's something incredibly attractive about someone who doesn't give up. Now he's lit up. You're not just observing him, you're appreciating him in a way that reflects your values, and that makes him feel chosen. It makes him want to lean in, to become more of what you already love. This phrase has power because it speaks to two essential drivers in a man's heart: the desire to feel admired and the desire to be seen. Every man wants to feel like who he is naturally is enough. And when you say, I love a man who, followed by something he just did or said, it tells him, you're doing it right. Keep going. And let's be real, it's also a form of communication that gets results without conflict. Think about how often relationships get stuck in this frustrating loop. Why don't you do this anymore? Or you used to be so thoughtful. That energy is filled with lack, with absence. And most men either shut down or push back. But when you say, you know what I find so sexy? A man who plans things ahead of time. That just melts me. What are you doing? You're planting a seed. You're showing him exactly what opens your heart, what lights you up. And he's way more likely to do it, not because he's afraid of being scolded, but because he wants to see that look in your eyes again. The beautiful thing about this approach is that it's not manipulative, it's collaborative. You're not playing games. You're not pretending to like something you don't. You're using your words to build the connection you want while making him feel amazing in the process. And don't worry, you're not stuck complimenting things that aren't there. This isn't about fake flattery. This is about being intentional with your praise. When you notice something you genuinely appreciate, highlight it. When he shows confidence, when he listens intently, when he treats someone kindly, say it. I love a man who becomes your way of guiding the relationship without ever sounding like you're trying to fix him. There's also a deeper layer to this. It's about setting standards. See, when you say, I love a man who, you're revealing what you value, but you're doing it in a way that feels inspiring, not controlling. You're drawing a line in the sand, but you're doing it with charm and femininity. You're saying, this is the kind of man I'm drawn to. And what that does is it naturally filters. The right men will want to rise to meet you. The wrong men will fall away. And that's exactly what you want. This approach builds something else too. emotional momentum. In a world where people are constantly unsure of where they stand, this kind of positive feedback creates confidence, safety, and desire. The connection moves faster, deeper, stronger, because now it's not about guessing games, it's about appreciation, clarity, and shared values. There's something powerful that happens when you make a man feel like he's winning with you. Not just charming you, but genuinely impacting you on an emotional level. And one of the most irresistible things you can say to a man is this: that made me feel so... It sounds simple, right? But this line, this one sentence, touches something deep inside him. Men, whether they admit it or not, have this innate drive to protect, to provide, to be someone you can lean on, not just in the traditional physical sense of protection, but emotionally too. And in today's world, where so many people are guarded, where independence is worn like armor, that expression of emotional vulnerability paired with appreciation is magnetic. When you say, that made me feel so safe, what you're really doing is showing him that his presence, his actions, his choices have emotional weight. You're telling him that what he does matters, and not just in a logical or practical way, but in a way that reaches into your heart. Let's break it down. When a man hears that from you, he's not just hearing a compliment, he's hearing validation of his efforts. He's hearing, I see you. I see what you just did there, and it affected me. And most men don't get that kind of feedback. Think about it. How often is a man told that he made someone feel emotionally secure just by being who he is? Not often, which is exactly why it's so powerful when it happens. But here's the key. This only works when it's real, when it's authentic. This isn't about flattery. It's about catching those real moments where he made you feel grounded, like when he took the time to walk you to your car late at night, handled a stressful situation with calmness and clarity, or when he listened, really listened when you were venting, instead of just trying to fix it. Those are the moments you spotlight. Those are the moments where you look at him and say, that made me feel so safe. And watch what happens when you say it. He straightens up, not physically, though sometimes he does that too, but emotionally, internally, because in that moment, you just showed him that he has value in your life that goes way beyond looks or charm or status. He's being appreciated for something foundational. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that vulnerability makes them weaker in a relationship, that showing that something someone did made you feel safe is somehow giving away your power, but it's the opposite. That kind of emotional communication shows self-awareness, confidence, and strength. It says, I know what makes me feel good, I recognize it, and I'm secure enough to express it. That's attractive. That's irresistible. Because what do most people do instead? They wait. They wait to feel safe before they open up. They wait for some invisible milestone before they give compliments. Or they assume the other person already knows how they feel, so they don't bother saying it. And as a result, amazing moments pass by unacknowledged. But when you break that pattern and actually call it out, when you say, hey, I noticed that, you're not only validating him, you're also teaching him. You're teaching him what matters to you, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel close. And here's where it gets even more interesting. When a man knows what actions create that feeling of safety in you, and he sees that those actions are appreciated, he'll repeat them. Not because he's trying to manipulate you, but because men thrive on being effective. When they know what makes a woman feel amazing, they want to lean into that. But the difference between a woman he dates casually and a woman he falls deeply for is how she makes him feel about being that man. If you can make him feel that being emotionally supportive, being attentive, being dependable makes you light up inside, that's when he starts seeing you not just as a fun person to be around, but as someone who actually brings out the best version of him. You're not just saying, "You're hot," or "That was cool," or "Thanks for doing that." You're saying, "That mattered to me. You mattered to me in that moment." And again, it has to be real. If you're constantly throwing compliments that aren't grounded in truth, it loses its impact. But if you're in tune with your feelings and you're actually aware of when someone made you feel calmer, more grounded, more cared for, those are the golden moments. That's when you stop the world for a second and say, "That made me feel so safe." Because when he hears that from you, it's not just about ego, it's about connection. It tells him he's not just playing a role, he's affecting you in a meaningful way. And that's the kind of connection that most men don't even realize they're starving for until they feel it. You know, a lot of people talk about love, they talk about chemistry, excitement, butterflies, all of that. And sure, those things matter, they're the spark. But what no one really tells you is that when it comes to what actually bonds a man to a woman, what really gets under his skin and makes him crave her presence, it's not just attraction. It's not just how she looks or how much fun they have together. One of the most powerful forces that connects a man to a woman is respect. And not the kind of respect you throw around loosely. I'm talking about genuine, intentional, conscious respect. The kind that sees him for who he is and what he values. Because here's the truth. Men walk around the world constantly trying to prove themselves, whether it's in their career, their friendships, their goals, their gym routine. There's always this underlying drive to earn significance. And most men feel like they're only as good as their last win. So imagine this. He's with you. He's navigating life. He's not perfect. He's figuring things out like everyone else. But he handles something with integrity, with confidence, with thoughtfulness. And instead of brushing past it or assuming it's expected, you look him in the eye and say, "I really respect how you handled that in that moment." Something shifts, not because you gave him a compliment, not because you flattered his ego, but because you noticed. You acknowledged something he's proud of in himself, something that is deeply to him. And that kind of recognition, that kind of emotional signal, it's magnetic, it's rare, and it makes you stand out without even trying. See, what most women don't realize is that men are constantly decoding whether or not a woman sees their effort, their values, their thinking. They want to feel emotionally safe too, but for them, that safety often comes through respect. It's not just about whether you admire his looks or laugh at his jokes. It's whether you recognize his strength of character, his ability to make a decision under pressure, or the way he treats others even when no one's watching. You say, "I respect how you handled that." And suddenly, he feels like he can breathe around you. He feels like he doesn't have to prove himself all the time. He feels seen. And you might think it's a small thing, but it isn't. That phrase goes right to the core of what many men silently crave in a relationship. And let's be clear, this doesn't mean you have to go around giving gold stars for every little thing he does. It's not about being performative or pretending. It's about cultivating the habit of noticing the things that matter. When he takes the high road, when he stays calm under pressure, when he puts thought into solving a problem, say something. Speak into that moment. You have no idea how deeply that can land. A woman who sees a man's value and speaks to it, she's unforgettable. Because here's the kicker. Most men don't hear those words. They might hear thank you or good job or you're hot, but I respect how you handled that. That's a whole different tier. That speaks to his identity, not just his performance. It tells him, I see the man you're trying to be, and I already believe in him. And when a man feels that from a woman, when he knows that she genuinely respects him, not because he's perfect, but because she sees the intention behind what he does, it creates a bond that's nearly impossible to replicate elsewhere. He doesn't just feel desired, he feels understood. He feels safe. And ironically, when a man feels that kind of safety with you, he starts to rise even further into the man he wants to become. Because respect is more than just a word. It's a mirror. It reflects back the best in him, reminding him that it's worth showing up that way, especially with you. And the beauty is, you're not controlling him. You're not trying to change him. You're simply holding up a reflection of the good that's already there. And men respond to that powerfully. So next time he shows up in a way that impresses you, not with flash, but with substance, don't just smile and keep going. Stop. Tell him, look him in the eye and say, I respect how you handled that. And watch what it does. Watch how his shoulders relax. Watch how his energy shifts. Watch how he leans into you with more presence, more trust, more intention. Because when a man feels respected, he doesn't just stay. He chooses you over and over again. And that's what makes you unforgettable.
You know what most people far underestimate when it comes to attraction? Mental chemistry, emotional connection is vital. Physical attraction is exciting, but when you connect with someone on a thought level, that's when it becomes magnetic. That's the difference between someone remembering you for a moment and someone not being able to forget you for years. When you say to a man, I love that you think that way, you're not just tossing out a compliment. You're creating emotional gravity. You're signaling something much deeper than approval. You're letting him know you see his mind. And I promise you, there are few things more irresistible to a man than feeling intellectually seen by a woman he's attracted to. Here's the thing. A lot of men grow up craving validation for their achievements, their strength, their control, their physical presence. That's the currency they often feel they need to bring to the table. But deep down, just like anyone else, they want to be understood. They want someone to say, that was a smart take, or I never looked at it that way. That's actually brilliant, because that means you're not just nodding to be polite. You're listening. You're engaging. You're appreciating who they are behind the mask. Quote, you can tell a man he's hot. Sure, it'll make him smile. You can say he's funny. He'll feel a little more confident. But when you genuinely say, I love the way you think, something shifts. That tells him you're connecting with the core of who he is. That you're not just here for a good time, you're here for a real connection. And that's where his interest transforms into investment. Let's break this down in practice. Imagine he's telling you a story, maybe about work, something he's passionate about, or even just his take on a recent movie or social issue. Most people will just nod or toss in a casual, oh, cool. But if you pause and say, I love how your mind works, or that's actually a really unique perspective, you made me think, that's the moment he starts looking at you differently, not as someone who's just attractive, but as someone who gets him. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about pretending to be impressed. That's not authentic. And people can feel when you're not being real. It's about genuinely tuning in, picking up on something thoughtful or insightful he said, and acknowledging it with presence. When you can amplify what he shared even better, if he says something you find compelling, ask him more. What made you think that way? Have you always believed that? You're not interrogating, you're inviting depth. This is especially powerful with confident men, the kind of men who seem like they have it all together. Why? Because most people don't challenge those guys. They don't ask thoughtful questions. They're either too intimidated or too focused on trying to impress. But when you step into the room with curiosity and appreciation for the way he thinks, not to flatter, but to connect, you become unforgettable. And it's not just about serious topics. Even in light-hearted conversations, this works beautifully. Maybe he's being witty or sharing a funny observation about the world. Laugh and say, "You're hilarious. The way your brain works just kills me." You're still doing the same thing, acknowledging his mind, not just his punchline. Bueno, the truth is, in a world where most attention is surface level, being the person who connects on an intellectual and emotional level makes you stand out. Bueno, it's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being present enough to see someone else's brilliance and generous enough to point it out. And here's the part that makes this even more powerful. When you express admiration for how someone thinks, you're not putting yourself below them. You're not idolizing. You're connecting. You're saying, "I see you. I respect you. I respect you. And I enjoy seeing how your mind works." That creates a dynamic where both people feel elevated. It's not praise from a fan, it's appreciation from an equal. Now, what happens when you start doing this consistently? A man starts looking forward to talking to you. Because when he's with you, he feels like more than just his job title or his looks or his bank account. He feels valued for his mind. And that's a type of intimacy most people don't get to experience, especially men who are used to being admired for external things, hasapans. That's when he becomes hooked, not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply human way. Because when someone feels like they can bring their real self to the table and be met with interest, curiosity, and encouragement, they don't want to lose that. It becomes rare. It becomes precious. It becomes precious. And you become someone he not only wants, but someone he respects, someone he feels safe opening up to, and someone he can actually imagine building with. That's the energy you bring when you say, "I love that you think that way." Not just a sentence. I know it's an invitation into something deeper. Because the truth is, a man might be attracted to how you look, but he falls in love with how you make him feel about himself. You don't have to be perfect with me. Those words, they land in a man's heart like a deep breath he didn't even know he needed. You see, a lot of men walk through life carrying invisible weight, expectations, pressure, the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough. They're taught to be providers, to be strong, to always know what to do. And even if he looks confident on the outside, even if he's successful, charming, got it all together, there's almost always a part of him that's questioning, am I really enough? Now, here's the thing. Most women don't realize how much power they have to disarm that voice. They think the way to attract a man is to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to impress him. But what truly captivates a man, what makes him stay, isn't how perfect you are, it's how real he gets to be around you. When you say, "You don't have to be perfect with me," you're not lowering your standards. You're not saying, "Do whatever, I'll accept it." No, you're opening the door to authenticity. You're saying, "I see you, the real you, and I want to connect with that guy." Not the act, not the filtered version, you. Because in a world of constant performance, where he's judged by how much he earns, how strong he appears, how little he shows emotion, what he craves more than anything is relief. He wants to come home. Not just physically, but emotionally. He wants to feel like he can exhale around someone. Like he doesn't need to keep the mask on. But here's the key. It has to be felt when you say it. It's not just the words. It's how you look at him when he messes up. how you respond when he's unsure. Because sometimes a man's imperfection will show up in the little things. Maybe he fumbles telling you how he feels. Maybe he doesn't always have the right answer. Maybe he's scared of how much he likes. But when you give him that space to be imperfect, to stumble, to admit he's confused or nervous or even scared, you're telling him, I'm not here to grade you. I'm here to know you. And that's when something really powerful happens. That's when he stops performing and starts connecting. That's when the relationship stops being about impressing each other and starts being about growing together. That's when he sees you not as just someone he dates, but as someone he builds with. Think about it. How many people in his life truly know the unfiltered version of him? Not many. Maybe not even his closest friends. But when you become the one person who makes him feel safe enough to be real, who doesn't punish his honesty, but values it. He bonds with you on a level that no charm, no beauty, no cleverness can create. It's about emotional freedom. When a man feels he can be fully seen without judgment, that's when love stops being something he's cautious about and starts being something he dives into. And sometimes it's not even about him saying anything. It's how he acts around you. If you notice him pulling away, not being as talkative, or seeming a little distant, don't immediately jump to, what did I do wrong? Instead, lean in with calm curiosity. Give him the room to express or not express. Let him know, through your presence and your energy, you don't have to have it all together right now. I'm not here to pressure you into perfection. I'm here to understand you. Now, that doesn't mean tolerating poor behavior. Boundaries are crucial. If he starts being disrespectful or inconsistent, you hold your standard, but don't confuse perfection with integrity. You're not asking for flawless. You're asking for real. And when you make that distinction clear, you actually inspire him to rise. Because the paradox is, when you don't demand perfection, he wants to be better for you, not because he has to, but because he wants to. That kind of connection motivates him in a way pressure never could. And here's the beautiful part. This isn't just about him. It works both ways. When you create a space for his imperfection, it allows you to relax into your own. You stop feeling like you need to constantly be on. You stop worrying about saying the perfect thing or being the perfect part. And in that mutual acceptance, something beautiful forms. Emotional intimacy. That's what makes a man stay. That's what keeps the connection alive. Not just chemistry, not just attraction, but that sacred space where both of you feel free to be exactly who you are. No masks, no pressure, just truth. So the next time you're tempted to fill the silence, to fix, to analyze, to perfect, pause. Look him in the eye, soften your energy, and let your presence say the one thing that will draw him closer than anything else. You don't have to be perfect with me.